The U.S. Supreme Court ruled in Democrats' favor today, choosing not to block former President Trump's tax returns from being turned over to Congress, mere months before Republicans take control of House committees. The ruling comes as Washington prepares for the lame duck session to rev up after Thanksgiving and looks ahead to new leadership within the Democratic caucus. Let's bring in two CBS colleagues, Caitlin Huey-Burns and Finn Gomez. Caitlin is a CBS News political correspondent, and Finn Gomez is our political director at CBS News. It's good to have both of you here with us on Red and Blue Thanksgiving week, but politics is still busy. We have a lot going on today. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy is now perhaps the man of the moment, facing a crucible within his own party ahead of the Speaker vote, and also trying to consolidate his support on the right ahead of that reckoning for him in just a few weeks. And part of that is going down to the border. And he's also trying to reach out to those in the party who have had some skepticism about him in the past, like Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia. Let's listen to Congressman Adam Schiff, the Democrat of California, talk about his view of the Republican leader.
I suspect he will do whatever Marjorie Taylor Greene wants him to do. He's a very weak leader of his conference, meaning that he will adhere to the wishes of the lowest common denominator. And if that lowest common denominator wants to remove people from committees, that's what they'll do. It's going to be chaos with the Republican leadership. And sadly, the kind of the crazy caucus has grown among the Republicans.
Caitlin, that's the view from Congressman Schiff, a longtime antagonist of Congressman McCarthy. McCarthy now down at the border today, calling on the Secretary of Homeland Security, Secretary Mayorkas, to resign, to leave office. What do you make of what McCarthy has done in recent days as he prepares for that Speaker vote?
Well, I think the important thing to remember is McCarthy is going to have a very slim majority. So the amount that he is celebrating Republicans winning back the House is warranted because they are now able to control committees, and that means they are able to, since they have a majority, have subpoena power. They can compel people to testify, and they want to go after members of the Biden administration, particularly at the border. But what is interesting, because of that slim majority, is that he has to form alliances with people that, you know, want to exert their influence and power as well. And I thought it was really interesting last week that he had Marjorie Taylor Greene essentially stumping for him. He formed this alliance for her, with her. She has been trying to promote him, his speakership, at a time that he needs every vote he can get for that. So in a slim majority, you have to form these kinds of alliances, these relationships to kind of keep, you know, first of all, to get the votes, to get control, and then also to be able to govern in it. And it's a big task at hand. And the fact that he's going to the border today is a signal, I think, to his conference that he is willing to go kind of where they want him to go, that he is trying to get some in their favor on these big issues that were big in the election.
Finn, as Caitlin said, he's going to where his members want him to go. He's going to the border. But every day there seems to be another report of a conservative House Republican saying no thanks to Republican leader McCarthy ahead of this Speaker vote. Based on your conversations with people in former President Trump's orbit within the Republican Party, is McCarthy still on pace to be the next Speaker of the House?
According to Trump World, yes. And I think what Caitlin just said is really important. What immigration is that red meat issue that has connected Republicans and different demographics across the board. It's something that you've seen throughout the midterm cycle. It was a big one even now with 2024 potential aspirants positioning themselves for potential runs. Immigration is a key one. So in order to get that support, in order to unify the coalition of Republican Party factions, one that he needs now with a narrow majority, immigration is one that he can tie them all together with.
How do you see the immigration issue playing out next year, Finn, should Republicans really make it a focus for them in the early months of the new House led by a narrow Republican majority?
I think, there's going to be some very public hearings. They talked, as you mentioned, some hearings on the border. I think it's going to be a big focus for them. Right now, where there's only 6 weeks left that Democrats have that are in power. And I think what you're seeing also is this frantic pace to try to do something in terms of the, DACA and all these in immigration overall, because they know what's coming. And what's coming is just going to be this backlash to a very central issue that you have seen them campaign on, that you see them leading on or trying to lead on. And I think it's something that paves the way to the 2024 race as well. So you're going to see, you're going to be hearing a lot about it, and it's going to be a central one for Republicans.
And Caitlin, the Democrats will have their own new leadership slate to counter whatever McCarthy and the Republicans do on immigration and other issues. What do you make of Hakeem Jeffries, the congressman from New York, and his leadership team in the days since they have moved toward becoming the next leaders of the Democratic Conference?
Yeah, last week we saw that kind of passing of the torch, as Nancy Pelosi described, to a new generation of leadership. So you have Hakeem Jeffries, Pete Aguilar, Catherine Clark. And there are opportunities for them, certainly, but there are also a lot of challenges. First, a lot of Democrats have pointed out to me that Nancy Pelosi obviously had a hold on her caucus. She knew where to get the votes. She knew how to wrangle the votes. She was also a prolific fundraiser and a party builder in terms of building up the infrastructure of the party. You know as well as I do that is so key for leadership, especially in election time, where you go where your members are, you raise money for the party, and really build up a strong party and an infrastructure for it. So that is a task for Jeffries. It will be interesting to see kind of how Pelosi is able to guide him, because she still will be a member of Congress. She's not leaving Congress. But it will also be interesting to see how he navigates this with Kevin McCarthy, what kind of a relationship they establish, if any, and whether he is able to use the minority position to kind of make a difference here. I talked to a couple lawmakers that were exiting the Democratic Party or exiting Congress from the Democratic Party last week, and they were making the point that, they do want to go toe-to-toe with the Republican majority and be able to, implement a lot of the things that the Biden administration passed. So there is a big to-do list for the minority, even though they're in the minority, and how he navigates that, I think, remains to be seen.
Finn, you mentioned the 2024 race being this issue, this race that hovers over everything that will happen in Congress in early next year. Let's listen to what some of the Republicans said at a recent conference, the Republican Jewish Coalition in Las Vegas.
Who knows? The next time we're together, we could be on a stage, multiple podiums. Who knows who else might be with us? Yeah, who knows? And who knows who will between us, and who knows what nicknames we might have.
The truth is, Americans weren't trusting the state of our party. They don't want chaos. They want strength and stability and unity. We didn't have that. We have to look in the mirror. The Republican Party has lost the popular vote in the last 7 out of 8 presidential elections.
It's going to take a little while for the people in Washington to get the message, but they're going to get it. A new era where Republicans actually give the voters a positive reason to vote for them is coming.
Finn, when I hear that, I hear a lot of Republicans saying it's time for the Republican Party to move in a non-Trump direction, but very few of them directly taking him on. None of those speakers have yet to jump in the race. So what do you make of all of this? Is anyone actually going to run against Trump?
I think by the size of the potential 2024 Republican contenders at the RJC in Vegas, I think the answer, at least at this point, is yes. It is going to be an expansive field. It is interesting that no one mentioned his name. Very rarely. It was only Chris Christie who mentioned the words Donald Trump in his speeches there. He even likened in a separate interview, the former New Jersey governor likened it to Voldemort from Harry Potter films and books. He who shall not be named. But but he was very present. They're obviously alluding to the former president. He still has a strong hold on the Republican Party. As you know, Bob, probably about 30% of the Republican base still support him. However, his power, at least according to the Republican strategists, many of whom were in Vegas this weekend, they say that it's diminished. There's still a lot of blame, a lot of blame and finger pointing towards the former president because of the lackluster underperformance of the Republican Party during the 2022 midterms.
Caitlin Huey-Burns and Finn Gomez, thank you so much.